So,
Ugh.
yeah. Um, so the Pact Act passed, but this goes back to the fact that the GOP prevented it from passing a week ago, and then made a promise, we'll get it through. And I was thinking about this last night. I think that the strategy might have been to, prevent its passage for um, specious reasons, and then to try to portray the hero. We got it through, but it would have gone through anyway had you not dicked with it. Um, that's my opinion. I don't think that the amendment. I think. Well, it doesn't. I believe I know who submitted the amendment, but the amendment didn't do anything to change the crux of the legislation, which you prevented from passing to begin with. So you are trying to create a historic, heroic event by stopping this passage of the legislation, much needed legislation, and then allowing it to pass. And that's just a fraudulent hero.
Well, I don't think it worked that way for them anyway. That strategy completely failed.
Now a lot of the veterans turned on him. There were nightly vigils up there on the hill.
Yeah. My phone was lighting up with texts from everybody who I think I've ever met in my entire life.
The
Because,
president call you?
well, no,
Oh.
I've never met the president.
Oh.
I mean, the
Joe.
president of the Glee Club, maybe, but my phone was just lighting up with everybody because they know, of course, the Veteran Studies program, and you being a veteran, me being married to you, was just like, did you see this? And I'm like, wow, this was all Stripes that were contacting me.
This is an outrage.
Yeah, and they were putting it solidly at the GOP's doorstep.
Yep.
But I thought that there might be some connection between the climate bill. Because Manchin was.
That's been
It
the.
looks like there was some funny business happening back there.
There was a speculation that because the Dems got what they wanted on the climate legislation, that for them to get 2 wins was unacceptable. That is the banter. Um, and the whole notion that the Pact Act didn't pass last week because of a budgetary gimmick, I would call that garbage. That's a technical term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you could point to the fact that all anyone wanted to talk about is the budgetary gimmick, but they never pointed it out. Well, they tried, I suppose, the mandatory and discretionary funding. But I don't know that the amendment made any change to that, so it's exactly the same. The argument was, I think Jon Stewart brought it up, that they wanted to put a sunset in there.
Yeah.
And we used to see that on the Hill where you give it 5 years, 1 year, 10 years, and the sunset then holds down the projected cost, as well as the cost of doing business. The cost of war goes far beyond beans, bullets, and band-aids. So they decided that if they could put a sunset on it, that would require it to be reauthorized in a period of time. And I think Jon Stewart covered that magnificently.
Well, and that was the other thing that was happening. So as soon as he responded to it, all the same people that had contacted me going, did you see this? I mean, these were people across political spectrum were saying, Jon Stewart for president. And I'm like, okay.
Matt?
Yeah.
As Karsten would say.
Oh, Karsten.
Hi, Karsten, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Karsten passed away. He was a great friend and mentor of ours. He passed away. Gosh, it's been
He died last fall.
well over. Has it not been a year yet then?
It was last fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Last October.
yeah, very, very interesting. I think that the GOP got the message.
They're getting, so they lose the Kansas there, right?
Yeah.
They get held accountable for, I know you're interested in politics, aren't you? Um,
Says, yeah, I didn't feed them yet. I meant to. It's the politics of food.
Mother,
And the
please.
politics of dancing.
Mother, please. Mother,
I know you're streaming live and all, but
may I eat, Mother?
yeah, nice of the bill. That is certainly bad form. If nothing else, the optics, and optics are huge on the Hill.
Yeah.
The optics of fist bumping after preventing a piece of veteran legislation is potentially and politically catastrophic.
Especially for Republicans who often have tried to corner the market on we're the only ones who are patriotic and attaching service to patriotism, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, I mean, even if you want a fist bump, you don't do it publicly because you don't want to be the person being seen celebrating the blockage of veteran-oriented legislation. So that, well, so many things I could say.
But that guy, in and of himself, I mean, he's such a. At this point, there's like a. In the southern United States, particularly, there's this joke that goes around that like, you get hurricane warnings of category 4 or 5 or something like that. When do you evacuate? You evacuate when Ted Cruz decides to evacuate.
Yeah.
So he's often seen in the airport getting the hell out of Dodge when a hurricane comes through, which is, of course, problematic given that a lot of times in the States, the reasons why people lose their lives in hurricanes is that they are simply too poor to leave.
Yeah.
They can't afford gas, they can't afford a bus ticket, stuff like that. So when hurricanes come, people start sending crews down to the airport to watch for Ted Cruz cruising out of town.